Well, this review is going to be all over the place, and it's coming from someone who is not familiar with the source material whatsoever. This should go well with its fan base, right? Christoph Waltz, Mahershala Ali, Jennifer Connelly, Ed Skrein, Jackie Earle Haley, this upcoming heartthrob who looks like the main freshman from Sky High, and Rosa Salazar as the titled character, are directed by the versatile and extremely talented Robert Rodriguez in James Cameron's heavily produced adaptation to a beloved 90s manga called Battle Angel Alita, or Gundam as it's known in Japan. And for all you cool athletic jocks who aren't familiar with that term, it means a style of Japanese comic books and graphic novels typically aimed at adults as well as children. The film takes place within the ruins of a metropolis called Iron City in the year of 2563, where the inhabitants are mostly considered lower class and coexisting of both cyborgs and humans. Hovering over the impoverished town is a gigantic and alluring municipality called Salem, where nothing but the wealthy and more fortune reside. Kinda sounds a tad familiar, doesn't it? And in the junkyard of Iron City, a cyborg scientist named Dr. Dyson Ido, played by Christoph Waltz, finds the remains of a bionic female who possesses pristine body components that are key to creating artificial life. After a successful restoration, Dr. Ido names his creation Alita, who turns out to have a synthetic form of amnesia toward her origins. And throughout the first half, we witness our heroine regenerate every skill from her past, which eventually creates massive potential toward her becoming the start of a rebellion against the inhabitants of Salem, primarily to end the mistreatment of those living below their buoyant city by a powerful mind-controlling scientist named Nova. Alright, now on to my extremely mixed standpoint. First off, let's get into what everyone is focusing on, and that's the visual effects. Oh yeah, you can most definitely tell that it's a James Cameron movie. Although it's really a Robert Rodriguez movie, but it's written and produced by James Cameron and his production company Lightstorm Entertainment. Sorry, got sidetracked. But the visuals for the most part are quite impressive and effectively establishes this futuristic environment to an adequately entertaining degree. However, I would be lying if I said the praise of the movie's visuals wasn't the teeniest bit overrated as well. Again, this is not subpar CG by any means, especially when it comes to the motion capture for the film's title character. Anything involving with this particular element of the visuals is genuinely fascinating. But for everything else, it is work that I have seen before and dare I say, have been executed better in other movies. Like when I think of outstanding visual effects, I think of films like Ex Machina back in 2015, where the work is so seamless that you actually believe they're executing practical effects to present their vision. Here, the effects are very pleasing to the eye, but it did feel like I was watching visuals that were added to a green screen nonetheless. Seriously, juxtapose this with films like Ex Machina or Blade Runner 2049 and you'll see what I'm talking about. As for the cast, there's really nothing to critique towards because everyone pretty much brings their A game. The lead actress Rosa Salazar delivers a very enchanting performance of the title character. The scenes she shares with Christoph Waltz are very effective in terms of emoting a father-daughter-like relationship. One of my favorite actors working today, Mahershala Ali, is pretty charismatic as the film's antagonist. And Jennifer Connelly does a fine job with her supporting role, even though it did feel like the movie underutilized her character quite a bit. Now, as for the film itself, in its entirety, Alita Battle Angel is a suitable mindless flick that works as conventional sci-fi fare, but it also falls very short with the other subgenres it attempts to deliver as well. As an undemanding escape filled with extravagant spectacle and well-directed action sequences, it works. But as both a complex love story and a depiction of social hierarchy, it's pretty superficial. I mean, some of the dialogue, oh my god. The dialogue between these two is some of the most cheesiest and cliched forms of writing that literally made me roll my eyes whenever these two shared a scene together. Oh my god. Nothing against the two actors here. They executed their performances quite well, but my god, some of their exchanges were reaching Twilight levels. Twilight levels, yeah, let that sink in. Look, James Cameron, I think you're a genius behind the camera and you have written some great original stories. But when it comes to the romance genre, you're about as annoyingly Hollywood as it can get, good sir. Let's just go back to sci-fi or action comedies from now on, okay? And as much as I recommend this film as being a solid action flick, even that kind of praise is not without its flaws, and it's primarily toward its protagonist within that area. Now, there's nothing wrong with the personality of Alita. They most certainly did a good job in maintaining the likability toward this character. But let me ask you something. What is the one thing that keeps you truly invested in a hero when it comes to a genre that's pervaded with some form of dangerous conflict throughout their journey? Vulnerability, right? It's the vulnerability of that character. The fact that the character you're rooting towards has just as much of a risk at losing everything as he or she does at gaining everything. Like how all three of the Indiana Jones flicks made us care towards the success of his journeys because he was consistently getting beaten down or enduring a bunch of obstacles that had the potential of ending his life along the way. Here, you honestly don't feel any danger toward this artificially built individual who is continuously kicking ass without failure throughout the entirety of this movie. Which, needless to say, it also kind of portrays the villains as insufficient to the story as well. And from what I'm told, this is considered a pretty faithful adaptation of the character, and the obvious fact that it's a cyborg, so what should I expect, right? But I'm sorry, as a cinematic adaptation, the character still lacks an essential element of being an effective protagonist that prevents her from being fully engaging. Also, the whole depiction towards social class is really nothing new with how it's portrayed here. And of course, again, before I get slammed in the comments from fans of the original source material for saying such blasphemy, I must relay that I am told that this particular element wasn't really altered at all. If anything, all the other times we've seen this kind of dystopian society, it may have been inspired from this particular manga. Okay, well, that's fine and dandy, but that doesn't change the fact that some of us unfamiliar viewers have experienced this kind of portrayal in other stories and still have it feel as if it were being recycled here. Doesn't technically make its existence derivative or anything, it's just sometimes it's natural for people to primarily revolve toward the source that came into their life first. So, with all the flaws I just mentioned, one would expect me not to recommend spending both your time and money on this picture, right? And that's where you would actually be wrong. And maybe confused. The film does work as an undemanding action piece as long as you can stomach its cheesy dialogue and leave any expectation of originality at the door. This is one of those movies where you can just turn off your brain for a few hours, kick back, and have some mindless fun with both its big budget visuals and frenetic action sequences. That's what I did, and I felt it was an overall fun time at the movies. Now, I can't speak for die-hard fans of the manga and what experience y'all will most likely have with this picture, but as a casual audience member, the film does execute a decent enough job in establishing this material, maintains a decent enough investment toward these characters, and it's fair to say the way it concludes by setting itself up for an inevitable sequel that I would kind of be interested in seeing where they could take this franchise. I mean, who knows? It could possibly execute it more effectively with future installments. But for now, it's a decent start. So, Alita, Battle Angel, a very flawed but also considerably fun adaptation of a beloved 90s manga. It may not have reached the standard I expected from Lightstorm Entertainment, but I still say the film reaches the threshold just enough to earn a positive rating. And for my overall recommendation, I give Alita a solid 3 out of 5 stars, and I think it possesses enough entertainment value to be worth a matinee. Okay, everyone, send me your thoughts on the film. Do you agree or disagree? Place it in the comment section below. And if you like this video, then stay tuned for more cinematic awesomeness.